Hey, what's up guys? First of all, thanks for stopping by the channel. I really appreciate it. So if you've watched any of my videos on the KTM 1290 Super Duke, then you've probably heard me say that this is the best motorcycle that's ever been built. So I have come up with a scientific method of deciding whether or not it really is the best bike ever built. I am using 4 criteria: looks, performance, reliability, and cost of ownership, to accurately distinguish whether or not this is indeed the case. I told you it was highly scientific. First, looks. Well, that's a no-brainer. This bike is gorgeous. From the headlight in the front to the single sidearm mounted rear wheel and everything in between, this bike is a thing of beauty. Let's start with the headlights. To me, these things are so sharp looking. They remind me of a wasp, right? And everybody knows you don't want to mess with a wasp, you're going to get stung. So I think that this sets the tone from the very start. You're looking at the front of the bike, you see this wasp and it's coming after you, right? Absolutely gorgeous. I love it. And also very functional. They are super bright at night. They work really well. But regardless, bitchin' headlights, man. They are really cool. Okay. Now let's talk about the way the engineers designed the trellis frame to work with the motor itself, right? Because it's a super naked, you see everything. There's no fairings. You get to look at everything that this motor has to offer, and the way it's tied in with the engine is just beautiful, man. It just works perfectly. Everything about this motor is super strong and aggressive looking, and I just love the way it ties in with the orange frame, especially the way the exhaust is wrapped. Very super clean bends on the exhaust. It looks fantastic. Coming back to what I have on here, I have the SC Project exhaust. I replaced the original KTM exhaust, which was a good looking exhaust, but it's a little heavy, and I think I get a little bit more bottom end out of the bike having this exhaust on it, so I like it a little bit more. But there was nothing wrong with the original exhaust. I don't know that I got that much more power out of this exhaust, but I did get a little bit more bottom end, but that's more performance area, right? And we're still talking about looks. But this SC Project carbon fiber can looks fantastic with the bike, okay? Okay, the single-sided swing arm, also a very cool looking swing arm, very beefy, not like the Ducatis. It's got a big bulge of metal out here, which, I mean, it says it means business, right? And of course, mating it up with the KTM orange wheels. Primo, man, it just looks fantastic. So the tail section, I really like the tail section a lot. I don't like this extension, right, for the license plate. I have a tail tidy kit. I just haven't put it on yet. Just moved recently, getting the garage together, all that other stuff, right? Things happen, life happens. So there's no time to do everything you want to do all the time. But however, that will be going eventually, clean up the look a lot. Okay, let's talk performance. Obviously, at the heart of this beast is the LC8 1301cc V-twin motor. The motor is absolutely incredible, okay? 185 horsepower, 109 pounds of torque, in a bike that only weighs about 450 pounds with fluids in it, right? Super light, super torquey. Most of the super bikes out there nowadays are coming with 210, 212 horsepower. So this doesn't quite match them, but it's got so much more torque than they do, which really kind of evens the playing field, right? Now, for a super naked, this thing is unmatched in the torque department. The WP, I have the Evo version, so I have the WP semi-active electronic suspension, and it is a blast, man. I'll tell you what, the the way this bike is set up, even though it's a naked bike and it's got handlebars, it doesn't have clip-ons and all that, you do still sit over the nose pretty well. So that means when you're going into corners, hard on the brakes or hard on the throttle, you know, accelerating out of the corners, you feel very planted over the front wheel and like you got lots of grip, and it's just a really beautiful setup the way you sit on this bike. What else can I say about performance? The 0 to 60 time on this bike, according to the manual or the book or whatever, is 2.8 seconds. Incredibly fast. Launch control is a great feature on this bike. I haven't used it very much. I think I've done it like twice. It scares me, to tell you the truth. The bike just takes off so fast. I don't quite trust it yet to not loop. But of course, you know, you have your anti-wheelie mode is on, so the wheel might come 5-6 inches off the ground, but that's supposedly it, right? But I'm still a little hesitant on the launch control, right? But I can get it about 3.1, 3.2 seconds just leaving a light without launch control. The modes are fantastic, but I just leave mine in track mode all the time and anti-wheelie mode off because I like to be able to wheelie away from the light. But the performance on this thing is beautiful, and along with the performance goes your quick shifter. The KTM quick shifter is the best quick shifter I've ever experienced. It's like butter. No false neutrals, no ghost gears. Up and down the gearbox, it is smooth as butter, man. I just love the quick shifter on this bike. And of course, along with the performance, it has the 6-axis computer, right? So it always knows your lean angle. It always knows whether you're diving, whether you're on the gas. And so with your traction control, it just keeps the bike planted, no wheel spin. Unless you want it, you can also dial down your motor, your traction control and your motor slip regulator. But I just leave it usually right around 5 in the middle. So, but yeah, the performance on this bike is just legendary, man. Okay, let's talk about what it's like to ride the KTM Super Duke 1290. What's it like? Fun. It's like fun. Fun in all aspects, no matter what you are doing with it, right? So, is this bike fun to ride on the city streets?
I can't say enough about riding it in the street. It's so much fun.
Looks like it.
And of course the wheelies. This bike just loves to wheelie, you know. So, yeah, the bike is just a dream to ride in the city.
So, how does it handle in the mountains?
Well, to put it quite simply, this bike destroys the corners. It loves going around things. It loves it a lot. And the great thing about it is, whatever gear you're in when you enter the corner is probably pretty close to okay, because the LC8 motor has so much torque and so much exit speed ability, and then the brakes are so on point that even if you're going in a little hot, you just get a little bit of brakes and it slows down to just where you need it. But the gearing is what's so great about it, is because you can hold it mid-range through a corner, and as you're exiting, just roll on the throttle and it goes. So I do most of my riding here in the mountains at about, 8,000 feet or better. And that obviously, altitude is the killer of an internal combustion engine. But because this bike makes so much torque, it just pulls out of the corners like you wouldn't believe, and you don't even have to worry about having it up at a high RPM. It really is a dream to ride.
So how is it on the highway?
It's freaking awesome. Of course, getting on the highway is the most fun part.
I told you, the bike is just fun to ride, man.
So the strange thing about the Super Duke is it's just fun to ride no matter what you're doing, right? Just going down the highway here at a, you know, fairly steady, constant speed. Nothing really special about it, but it's so much fun. You just give it a little blip of the glass, the bike starts to move. You can't not have fun on this bike. The one, I won't call it a downfall or shortcoming or anything like that, but I'm doing 5 miles an hour right now. I'm in 6th gear and I feel the engine bucking underneath me. It does not like 6th gear. There's very few opportunities to use it. So one thing I have done though is I just purchased a chain kit. I'm going from a 525 to a 520, a little bit less rotating mass, and I'm going from a 17 tooth sprocket to a 16 so that I can get a little bit more usable gearing on the highway. Not that I ride it on the highway much, but I do want to be able to use 6th gear, so I'm hoping that'll help. I have a feeling keeping the front wheel on the ground is going to be even more difficult now, but that's okay.
So what about reliability? Well, since I've owned this bike, I have had this many problems with reliability issues. This many. The only thing that I have had on this bike is when I put the Bonamici rear sets on there, the rear brake cylinder, master cylinder, was pulling on the cables that go to the brake, the exhaust servo. So when I started the bike up, got out on the road, and I got an MTC failure. So I had to disconnect the servo, reroute the cables a little bit, fix the problem. Self-induced, 100%, not a problem with the bike. So I'd love to talk about the reliability issues because it's a KTM, right? So it's got to have reliability issues. Sorry, I can't. I haven't had no reliability issues with this bike whatsoever. And so that brings us to the last portion of our deciding criteria, which is the cost of ownership. What have I spent on the bike so far that wasn't upgrades that I've put on, right? You know, I've spent about $1,000 on the exhaust. I've put the bar end mirrors on here. Those are all things that I just wanted to do. Now I will say that I did put a steering damper on because I feel that was necessary. The WP steering damper that comes with this bike is trash. So that was about $400 for that. I'm on my second rear tire with 6,100 miles. I still have the original front tire on here. It's getting time to replace, but I'm going to replace these Bridgestone Battle Axes with a set of Pirelli Scorpions next. So I'm trying to get as much wear on this back tire before I do that. So the back tire was about, $300. After my 600 mile service, the next service was, I believe it's 6,000 miles, but I had the service light come on because it was a year, right? 1 year or however many miles to the next service. So I brought it in and they did the full service on it, and that was about a $500 service. So that was a little pricey, but every 6,000 miles, okay, I can probably stomach that, right? The tech pack. You have to have the tech pack. I would not buy this bike without the tech pack. And that was an additional, I want to say, $700 for that. And that is really it. That's the only cost of ownership so far that I've had for this bike. Super happy with it. Yeah, the service was expensive, but it is an Austrian super bike, or super naked, if you will. So of course it was a little bit expensive, right? Oh well, what are you gonna do? You want a sexy super naked? That's what you gotta do, right? After over a year and over 6,000 miles on the Super Duke here, I am still just as thrilled when I get on this bike now as I was the day I bought the dang thing. I love it, love it, love it. It is beautiful, it is fast, it's fun, it's performance oriented, and I just can't get enough of this bike, man. So in conclusion, having conducted our super scientific experiment, I can say still today that this is the best motorcycle that has ever been built. And if you want a bike that just makes you happy all the time, no matter what you're doing on it, get a KTM Super Duke. The 1290R is the best bike ever built. All right, well guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helped clear up whether or not this is the best motorcycle that has ever been built. I super appreciate it. If you liked the video, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. I 100% love all of the subscribers. It keeps me doing this. It's what I love to do. Like I say all the time, I don't get paid to do this. I just do it because I love making the videos and showing people what these bikes are capable of. So until the next time, hey, I hope to see you guys out on the road, and hope everybody has a great rest of the day. So thanks again. I told you it was highly scientific.